think you almost got mugged.
No. All right. So I'm gonna keep it kind of light. So the background of this is transparently, I saw Peter's kind of breaking a little, right? Yesterday. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of gave him a friendly, listen, bro, you can't take on every responsibility and try to fix every problem. You got to chop it up, right? Like trust your command and shit. And so there's the South Side stuff, right? I'm like,
Yep.
listen, you got big picture shit you got to handle. Like instead of me coming to you and being like, what's going on with all the fucking murdering, right? Chop it up to someone like Maxwell. So here you are. And the reason
he's off today?
Yeah, he's off today. He might be around later. But and the reason I was like, Maxwell makes sense because you kind of bleed from shift 1 to shift 2. And then, it just kind of makes sense, I think, with you being not in TRT, you're a command member, whatever, that when it comes down to yo, what's going on? What's going on? You're probably a better fit for that rather than him putting another, 500-ton thing on his shoulders. So
you're saying that because I'm not involved with TRT?
well, I think it's a mix of things. Number one, your command. Number two, you go from shift 1 to shift 2. Number 3, you're enough removed that you might be able to see a bigger picture, right? You're not actively going after these guys.
No, I
right?
am actually in TRT, but no, I don't. Yeah, I actually am.
Okay. Well, that's a small thing anyway, so that doesn't really change the.
Right. Well, I'm not on the radar like others are because I think because of how I communicate with them. So usually it's it's just Maxwell,
There is.
I don't get all the heat usually. It just depends who I ride with.
Yeah, that makes sense. I want to give you my perspective as I've sort of given it to them is at the end of the day, I'm not the mayor of LSPD. I'm the mayor of everybody in Los Santos. So things get a little challenging, right? Because I hear different sides of things and there's different levels of who's right and who's wrong, especially in a city where everyone thinks they're 100% right, and in a city where no one wants to be even 1% wrong. And this is not only on an individual basis, but also in a group basis, a clique basis, a department basis, a gang basis. Honestly, the equation in my mind doesn't really change much as to what circle you're talking about. My main goal and priority is less violence, right? I want people to enjoy being around, right? And
no, I agree. Peters did call me yesterday before his incident and asked that I put my ear on the ground basically to figure out what's going on and what everybody's pissed off about. The problem is that whatever they were pissed off about before is different than what they're pissed off about now, because now it's the talks that you guys have had. I guess he had. They said they've already talked to Peters.
They didn't.
They don't want to talk to anybody but Chief now, which
no,
I don't know.
So it's some of these guys are in my opinion, very low hanging fruit mentality. And I've been playing this weird ambassador role, and I spoke to them yesterday evening. We were supposed to meet at 5:30 today, but I think there might be some train issues. So
okay,
they did not talk to Peters. They
Interesting.
It started and then things went sideways. There's a full report that Daisy's got, but the long and short of it is, can I be frank with you? Even though this is not gonna look like I'm gonna throw some
no, that's fine. Go ahead.
The problem that I've seen is that they do not understand that there's red tape. They think that the PD is like a gang. I mean, in some ways there is some movement that I saw, which I'm not very pleased with in general, but from a legal perspective, but putting that aside, They think that like if someone claps, if Peters claps his hands, everyone falls in line, right? I'm like, and I try to explain to them, it's like they're not actually a gang, right? There's so much fucking politics that I've been witness to that if someone claps their hands, there's gonna be like a week of like, why are they clapping? And like how that whole thing even went to begin with is Saint made a demand of like, yo, how are we gonna talk about this when, you know, there's people moving in? And I think there was like an ask to like, can we chill for a second, you know, just to ease them for like fucking 10 minutes. And this guy lost his cool. I've been very, what made it weirder is that this guy immediately called Ventura, who called Nakota, who called the marshals. And in 15 minutes, my phone is blowing up and Peter's phone is blowing up like we're doing something illegal. That's how weird it was. There wasn't even like a, Peters, are you okay? It's like, Peters, can we find a reason to impeach you? It's actually, it's nasty is the best way I can put it.
Well, yes, from what I've seen, I don't understand it because even I was like, holy shit, Peters is ass chief. And I've told him that just from like, I've seen him pull into gang turf and be like, you know, I can do what I want basically type shit, get himself shot. And then all of us shot up with him. But since he's been ass chief, he's not done that. I saw it one time. It was the Manor Block. This was months ago before he got ass chief. So I'm just saying he was a little wild to begin with, but that's the shit that people that are with BCSO know him to do. That kind of stuff.
They're not letting. They are not letting him have a chance.
Right. I did because I think people deserve a chance, right? And that's why I stood up and said, well, you know, to be honest, he's done nothing but help shift one. And when we've had people in our faces telling us how big of a piece of shit we are or whatever on a scene, he would stand up and put them in their place, you know, like he's doing what he's supposed to do as the ass chief, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've seen him put more energy into making things work than I've seen most around the city, regardless of what the position is doing. People like to bitch and complain and don't like solutions. And it's very easy when you ask why, and there's no fact behind the opinion, you know? But I don't want to go too deep into that. Really where it came down to is Saint did some dumb shit, and he knows what he did was dumb now. Now, I will say that I don't know who the fuck this guy is, really. This is like my first blush at him. And so, no, there wasn't really a conversation. And there's also another thing at play is that for some reason they think that they can say like 3 sentences and the communication is understood. But the same sort of problem is on the PD side of it. Now, I'm going to tell you my impression of what's happening. And that's what this conversation is supposed to be with the chief and stuff, is bridging that gap. Is that there is some of them, different groups are cool with different officers, right? And what I mean by cool is like they know them enough that they allow those officers to push the boundaries a little bit further.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that other gangs will have problems with, I'm going to give you direct examples. SK is cool with Den, does not like Ventura. Saint likes Ventura, does not like Den. So it's kind of a bit of an awkwardness, right? So let's say either one of them say some shit on Twata, one of the two gangs is going to get annoyed.
Right.
But they're both in the same, like, you know, in the same, like,
it's Viv. Let me just grab her really fast. Hey, Viv. It is Friday. No, I'm talking with the mayor. It's not. I'm not Fridaying yet. Are you Fry? Yeah. This is. Oh, you are. Okay. Well, I gotta put my jeans on first. So after this meeting. Jeans. Yeah. All right. I'll call you after this. Okay. Bye. Thanks. Sorry about that. I thought it was like about Miller's trying to do a checkpoint. under Olympic Freeway. People coming out of the south side.
So, oh.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was in reference to, but it's not. It's just about Friday stuff. No big deal.
Oh, thank God. So,
Thank God.
there's like that aspect of it, right? Give me one sec. Hey, Saint.
Yo, what's up?
I'm in comms with both Andre right now and Lex. Lex is like way the fuck back right now. I'm recommending we try for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, can you communicate with all them and see if like tomorrow what time?
Yeah, I think it's always gonna be either super late EU or like now, basically.
Yeah,
I think that's when we all kind of merge.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk to Daisy and see if like we can do it for tomorrow. That way we're not like, is he coming in? Is he not coming in? And then because I know she's got a very busy schedule. She's around like late night. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you.
All right.
All right. Yeah. So you can set something in stone, and then if people don't show up, they don't show up. It is what it is.
Okay. Easy. All right. I will. Who do you want me to go through? So it's like one person, and then they communicate out.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like, should I hit up Andre and then let him spread it out? Should I go to Lex and spread it out? Should
no, I mean I can give him a call.
Could you email me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that way, if I get an answer this evening, I can fire it to you, and then you can,
Yeah, that's fine. Know. I got you.
All right, easy. All right, Saint, you take care.
All right.
Bye. So here's kind of where it is, right? Where were we? So there's kind of that side of it, right? And that I understand. Now, I want to give you a little bit of background. They are not the only gang that's upset. Like, yesterday there was comms with, let's just say, residents of Cyprus. And like that's actually when I first made note of this, and this is like way before like all the shit went. This is like last weekend. And I know that sometimes things may seem jokey to one side, but not necessarily up for another. And I'm gonna put it like this. I put a tweet out yesterday. Cops, what did I say? Cops baiting their death is fucking cringe, and I stand by that.
Yeah.
There was cops baiting Nakota at Cinnabons Plaza. Now,
what was that Friday? I do recall some twats of like memes and stuff going out, and I thought that was a little.
It was.
People don't like that shit.
It's not even that they don't like it. It's when I look at that, I'm like, why are cops using human shields? Like, if let's say Cyprus came through and shot the fuck out of them, right? You can say what they did was bad, wrong, illegal, but that doesn't absolve the endangerment of a literal food place where civilian businesses and civilians are.
No, I agree. I can't.
It's just like.
So who did Nakota did that?
I've got a whole document of it. I got to go back. Now,
of all people, I wouldn't really expect that from knowing.
It was him and a bunch of others. It was like, and so now I want to like zoom out a bit. I'm the mayor of Los Santos County. Why would I not be like, why are people outside of here riling up gangs down here, right? And now imagine from the background of this, some gangs that already are agitated seeing this, and they're like, that's PD, right? Because they can't dissect who's doing what. They're just seeing it. Now, I had a very tough time explaining this perspective because PETA started to make movement on this. I didn't mean to go this deep into the tea, but
it's okay.
But PETA actually started up putting a report over this, and he was immediately called subhuman by Cassidy
for doing his job.
Well, he was literally 5 minutes into like writing this, and I saw him. He was cooked. I'm like, because he wanted tweets from me and shit. 5 minutes into doing it, Cassidy's like live reading it and calls him up, cracks on him, calls him subhuman, and it turned into this whole fucking bullshit. So we weren't even able to, we weren't even able to meet with the gangs that were pissed in the South. Now what is the problem? Now, let's just say there is a twatter problem, right? And let's also go and say that certain officers were spoken to, quote unquote. Speaking to doesn't mean shit, in my opinion, right? It's so egregious. Like, imagine, like, if I went and said, yo, someone should put a bomb at Senior Buns, right? I should get thrown in jail, right? It's significantly more unbecoming of an officer putting lives in danger, right? And while Southside gangs may not have a leg to stand on, there's still my responsibility to point it out. But let's pass this for a second. There's a second more bigger problem at play, and I'm speaking now from the perspective of what I was able to get these guys to articulate. What do I mean by that? When I talk to these gangs, even I have trouble understanding what they're saying, right? And I have to get them to, like, really bullet point something beyond cops are bad, my feelings are hurt, right?
Yeah.
Because there is some of that, like, ego, quick to shoot bullshit coming from them. But what I was able to derive out is that they're expecting that if someone, they're going to sell drugs on their block, right? They know that. They know cops are going to respond. Where I think where things are sort of falling apart is they're expecting that when you come for them, you've seen them do a handoff. And that you got the information, you're coming in with the 6.
Right.
But what they're witnessing, because they are in communication with each other, is that people roll into one block. Nobody's here. Let's go to the next one. They know, the Vagos know. Hey, did they just roll through your block? Yeah. Did they just roll yours? So for them, optically, it looks like a 6-person convoy just checking every block.
Yeah.
And
I get that. But that's the problem, right? Like, they don't understand what has to happen before we can even do things like that, right? To be justified. There are guidelines we have to follow, and they don't give a fuck about that. And then you have the ones who know our SOPs, supposedly, in the cells and screaming, isn't that against SOPs? So they either overly know things, or they don't know shit about shit.
I mean, overly knowing things is a Los Santos special nowadays.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I battle it every day. Like, I talk to people I've never met before, and they know my entire fucking life. It's wild.
That is wild.
But
I think I did notice with some of the arrests, like, I was put on a kill list a few weeks back by Harry Knox and a few others, because TRT, we did a warrant apprehension, and then a picture was taken and posted on Twitter. I went to Shiesty myself and said, I don't think we should, 1, be posting anything on Twitter. 2, our faces shouldn't be part of it, which he agreed. So we're allowed to wear masks now, obviously during the apprehension, to protect our identities to some point. But I just told him, I don't care if we take photos, but, like, honestly, the gloating is what pissed them off to turn around and take that same picture and X off every person that they shot.
Yeah.
Within 2 days.
Yeah. Yep.
So I just think the gloating isn't necessary, and it's just not professional. It's not happened since. That was just like a one and done type of deal. But I just think the instigating has been a big problem with that, and that was with Cyprus, I believe, specifically.
Yeah, I mean, there's been others. Like, the one that I was cited to by SK was Saints were in jail. SK tweeted out for Saint. Ventura tweeted at SK to get off the phone, and then called up SK to tell him, hey, I got all the Saints up locked up right now, bitch. Like, you're next, or some shit like that. And
really?
And the problem is that, you know, I brought this up, and I get, like, there's going to be a little banter, right? But the problem is that, and this is kind of the failure of understanding, is that that banter might be banter to you, but might be a reason for them to have a reason to shoot. You know what I mean? And
Right.
and I'm not, you know, drinking the Kool-Aid where I believe everyone in the city, no matter if you're a cop or a gangbanger, there's people that are looking for reasons to shoot and escalate. It doesn't matter. There's like pragmatism, right? It would be great if the gangs communicated more for why they're doing things. In the same way, it'd be great if everyone in the PD always could articulate RS and PC and like da-da-da. But that's not the reality we live in, right? And so I sit back and I say, is there even a middle ground? And let me try to get there some communication so that when Peters gets shot, he's like, I don't agree with why they're shooting me, but at least I know why they shot me. Right. And in the same sense that when 6 units come through down in the block, they're like, we don't fuck with this, but we know why it happened. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that bridge can be closed, but I do find it a duty for me to try to make it happen, at least, you know, by doing this kind of communication.
I appreciate that, because just letting it get worse and worse is not good for anybody, and officers actually just go off duty after the fact, right?
I don't want cops to go off duty. I don't want those guys to go to sleep for 1,300 months. I told them this. I'm like, you're not, like, you don't win this. Like, you just get bled of money and you go to jail. And what it comes out of it? Right. Well, you defended your ego for $5 million? Like, you know. But in the same sense, like, what do the cops get out of it? They just, not everyone is looking to get on duty and deal with fucking 78 calls all day. You know what I mean?
But we don't, that's what I was going to say. We have repercussions they don't understand, right?
Yeah.
They're pissed off. They got all these months and all this money and all these fines. And then we're getting shit on for every day for weeks, and people don't want to come on duty, which brings the morale down. So people are actually hating their jobs in that time, right? In that time frame. So it's not like we're winning by putting them in jail.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't consider that.
So then they collectively say, oh, you guys just arrest us. Like Dundee yelled at me on Friday, pissed off, said I called him drunk, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't drunk, okay? I called him. I needed something on the bingo card. He immediately just started shitting all over the PD. Fuck this, fuck that. Why are you calling me? I'm like, dude, you're not killing my vibes. And he didn't like that I said that. You know, God forbid. I'm not in a shit mood like him every day, right? Some people are just like that, and you can't change them, and that's fine. He can be how he wants to be. Not everybody is like that, right? And he was just like, all you guys care about is putting us in jail for hundreds of months, which is not true. I'm probably one of the most fair officers you will meet in the PD. I am very respectful to people, but when they start disrespecting me, I'm just short and to the point. You want your lawyer? Okay, no, okay, done, boom. I don't give them more time. I still take time off when it's needed, because at the end of the day, it is what it is, right? But not everybody is like me, and I can't make everybody like me. So because of how other officers are, we're getting shit on for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
These new officers are like, why does everybody fucking hate us? I was at a red light, somebody came by and was like, fuck you, you know? Like, I just got on duty. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I don't know if there's never going to be kumbaya. I just want dialogue, if I'm going to be straight.
No,
listen, I hate.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
I
agree. I appreciate that. Like Hayes impounding a car yesterday, gets shot in the fucking face for not even being in the South Side, just doing her job.
Maxwell, I want to be clear here. I want dialogue on both sides. Right. Yeah. And I want to bring back like their perception of things. Right. They were all very clear to me. It's unfortunate Peters couldn't hear it because Saint has a fucking trigger finger. That they understand investigations. They expect certain things. But I don't know the specifics of it. Like, keep that in mind. And I understand that my perspective could be completely off. I'm not in TIT. I don't see the full ops. But it does beg me the question, right? Like, is and maybe it's happening, and I don't know this, or maybe it's happened occasionally where it didn't go based on SOPs, right? And they're leaning on those examples. Is that how do you go from, say, Cyprus, and there's nothing here, and then immediately go to the, let's say, Balasag, or the Manor area? Because if there was a drug call, my question from like a legal perspective or even a procedural perspective is, if there was a drug call, how do you even know without a camera or a visual seeing of a handoff what you're responding to? So let's say there was one guy slinging, right? 6 units pop in. You've already exposed yourself. Now you can presume that this guy was selling drugs, but you don't have any. You don't even have. I would argue whether or not you even have RS at that point, right?
Yeah.
And so now this guy, understandably, because of gangbangers, right? It's like frisking someone, anyone in the city. They're gonna have a gun, right? They're gonna flee because they don't know any better, right? And now they're like, oh shit, cops. Now it's a shootout. So at the end of the day, it turned into a shootout, even though there may not have even been a reason for detainment, right? So, and I think that's kind of that example right there is, I think, the core of what's being asked. And I was countered by, well, some of these guys are real ratty and they're selling on like rooftops and shit, right? And I get that, but I think that's like a city maintenance thing, in the same way as if some of these gangs started selling under their turf in the sewers, right? Yeah. Is that you can't counter those weird things, right?
No,
with
but
over-escalation.
As far as pictures go, I do know for sure, like Miller specifically, he'll go over by Fudge Lane and take photos. He's actually been shot by Manor taking pictures near their selling spot. Yeah. So he will go out and try to do photos, and then call us in, hey, you know, I just saw this guy, this is our target, I saw him do a handoff. And because he's getting the calls, like right now we have a drug call on Encino, drug sale. So somebody needs to go there and verify that, right, before TRT should be moving in. I think when they're going block to block, the only thing I could think is when they go to the first block and nobody's there, they're like, well, we're already together, let's go push the next drug block. Should they be doing that?
Yeah.
I don't know, right? All the time. It doesn't happen all the time, but I know it does happen.
I agree that it does. I think it's when it doesn't is the trigger point.
Yeah. And usually, though, we do try to get photos. Like I said, Miller specifically is one that's really good about going out there and investigating.
I appreciate you, by the way. This has been the most constructive conversation I've had yet on this topic. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry it took so long to talk to you. I definitely have 9 billion things to do every single day.
No,
so.
I believe it.
1 sec. Hey, everything good, Cricket?
This is the most constructive conversation. Yeah. We need more Maxwells,
the mayor for a
because
minute.
I never even considered, and she brought up, like, hey, people stop coming on duty, and that's a legitimate concern, right?
Sometimes I wish people would text instead of call. I prefer.
Yeah.
I know phone calls are great, but when I'm busy, I prefer text. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with, I understand, I get people don't maybe not think that maybe I understand what gangs deal with, but I do. I've been doing this a long time. I understand what they lose. I understand what they have to go through. And at the end of the day, they're people like we are, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I try to treat them accordingly, right? If
I'm going to suggest to Daisy, she should 100% be the person.
I see an officer struggling with them.
Yeah.
I try to take over and reason with them. Do you need food? Do you need this? Like, listen, dude, we're trying to do this. We'll do the best we can, you know? But again, not everybody's like that. So sometimes they go to jail pissed off. They get out and immediately get their guns and just go shooting everybody up.
Yeah, it's I think that you are, after this conversation, I think you are the perfect person to be having these conversations. Also because, obviously, at this point they want to talk to Daisy, which I think is a good thing to ideally de-escalate this shit like super far back.
Yeah.
I am not, I'm not on that, fucking Kool-Aid where I know that there's not going to be violence in the future, right? But whatever can prevent it and generate more dialogue, I think is just good for everyone. And
it is. And I've already started yesterday trying to reach out to people, but maybe they need to cool off a little bit before they're ready to talk again. And I honestly, I think some of the people within the gangs, like I know Louise. I called her yesterday, and I'm like, hey, if there's things that is happening that we can work on. I used to work with Louise when she was on this side, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me know, and I'll figure out how to make your day better by making our day better and squashing whatever bullshit's happening. I think that they're just in that mode where they just want to retaliate right now, and then eventually they'll cool off. That's where I feel like it is. But yesterday was actually a little calmer than I expected.
I think because high key, I'll tell you right now, I think Saint realized he fucked up, especially doing it in front of me, because I don't know. I think we have forward progress, even though it may not seem like it, right? It's one of those.
About the Peters conversation.
Yeah,
when that happened,
I was really mad about that. I was furious. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have just sat back and not been involved in any of this. Yeah. And I'm like trying to bring peace, and it's like, bro, it took longer to drive to the location than it took for you to fire the gun. Like, I said some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But I also don't hold grudges, believe it or not. It's a waste of time.
Yeah. We can't even get a turbo put in a car. What the fuck?
Wait, why?
Because we can't go down to Mosley's in the south side, and Frankie's trying to install a turbo in one of our cars.
Yeah.
So they're asking if Frankie can steal it in air quotes to take it to put the fucking turbo in it. How ridiculous
if
is
any
that?
cops need repairs, Frankie, I spoke to him already. He'll repair at Mission Row.
Yeah, he's doing that, but he's trying to put a turbo in somebody's car, and because we're not supposed to be in Southside, she can't. I'm gonna tell him no.
Yeah. So no, I would never put a hit out for Saint. Okay. So between us, I think they're having some issues getting in the city, so that conversation is probably not till tomorrow. I will open up hey, you should talk to Maxwell. She's more in your time zone. And or the collective of the 1 and 2. And the big thing that I'm trying to get out of that is this is how I look at it. This is like shit I used to deal with many years ago. And what I would always say if I ever had conflict with someone else, right, and tensions got high, is that there needs to be an understanding at the minimum level of where everyone's like line is, right? And while we may not agree with the line, at least it's understood what that line is, and then that leads to coming back to the table. And if instead there is zero dialogue, it literally just becomes endless killing, and nobody, including people in the gangs and people in the PDs or whatever the fuck it is, know why they're killing each other. And then people stop waking up. Or they get kicked out of the city.
Yeah, Jesus.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just someone ends up pushing it too far out of emotion. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it happens. I know.
Yeah. So, all right. I appreciate this conversation. I'm going to try to do what I can. I ideally want to keep myself as little involved as possible. This has been a headache for me. You know what I mean? But, all right.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. And, yeah, if I could think of anything, I'll give you a call. I'm still just trying to figure out what the hell's going on out there, you know?
Okay. Yeah. 1000%.
Not just getting names and like who and what department, but specifically, is it still continuing, right? Because
I think it's slowed down dramatically. And part of that, I started calling the shit out on Twitter, just straight up. I'm kind of on that no bullshit life at this point. I don't care if you're angel. I don't care if you're a fucking saint. I don't care if you're like PD high command. If like you're not using your brains, like I will just out it, because I'm kind of sick of the backdoor schemey shit, because everyone's paying for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody. So, yeah. So, we'll see what happens with the next election, but things are looking good. So, we'll see.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Nino.
Anytime. If you need anything, and hey, let me know how much you need for PNT. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been trying to give that to Avery because she's like the head of all 3 shifts. I didn't want to be like, oh, I'm the one going to Nino type
I forgot
thing.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but the problem is too, even though when I'm like yesterday, I was on duty till well into shift 2, but I didn't even see her. So we don't always run into each other. So I may just have to reach out in emails. And, I did give her a few ideas.
Yeah.
So I just told her you wanted to see something.
Yeah, and if anything, like I'm just looking for like a 1-page or a slides or whatever. And even if I don't bleed into when Avery is, like, you know, you could always be the messenger, right? So
I just want her to like agree or have say as well, because I didn't want PNT lead. She's PNT lead. Like that's her thing. She wanted it. She's got it. So I want her to like, you know, be the one saying this is what we want to do.
Okay.
And I'm just going to offer the suggestions, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing. If I'm talking publicly or whatever, not everything I say is super deep, right? Including that twat. You know, I got to play politics to a degree as well.
Okay.
So, kind of.
I get that. I mean, I didn't know you from a hole in the wall during that situation, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't playing politics before. I have been now for the last 4 weeks. It's
okay.
I realized, like, I mean, ever since the legislation shit, you almost got to tell people this equals this. These people are fucking me over. This screws you, because no one reads. You know what I mean?
No,
so
I don't.
It's all right.
I don't.
All right, appreciate it, Maxwell.
Yeah, appreciate it, Nino.
You take care.
All right, you too.
Maxwell's really good.